Faith Howell. I'm also a co-NC, and I'm a recent graduate of UNCG from the African American and African Diaspora Studies Department.
Yes. And a friend of mine. And so we are glad to be in this space, creating space for Black liberation and freedom for the Juneteenth holiday. When UNCG students reached out to request this space to celebrate Juneteenth in 2020, the faculty and the administration responded. They and we were faced with the constant traumas of unarmed Black people being killed by police officers. And they requested that we create this space to focus on the needs for more freedom and liberation. They wanted to celebrate Juneteenth as a way to raise the spirits and motivate and organize. Juneteenth has been recently recognized as a national holiday in 2021 by the Congress and President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris's administration. And this happened due largely to the hard work of Ms. Opal Lee, who is known as the grandmother of Juneteenth. She walked the country to obtain signatures on a petition to declare Juneteenth as a national holiday. UNCG began officially planning to celebrate Juneteenth in 2020, and so I want to share a little bit with you about the significance of Juneteenth. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, releasing enslaved Africans or Black people from the bondage of slavery, which was ordered to begin on January 1st in 1863. In some states, enslaved Black people held watch night services on December 31st or New Year's Eve to celebrate the countdown to January 1st when they would be freed from slavery. However, in Texas, enslaved Black people were continued to be held in bondage. Some who tried to escape because they had heard about emancipation were whipped or hung. And so it needed an enforcement to end slavery. On June 19th in 1865, over 2 years later, General Gordon Granger read the General Order Number 3 in Galveston, Texas, finally ending slavery for all Black people. So we celebrate Juneteenth, which is a combination of the words June 19th, because none of us as Black people were truly free from slavery until all of us were free from slavery. The first Juneteenth was celebrated the very next year, June 19, 1866. Black people gathered to remember the sorrow of enslavement and to sing and celebrate the joy that liberation brought. Following Juneteenth and the passage of the 13th Amendment, both established in 1865, Black people gained at least 7 freedoms. Black people could now, number 1, work for wages. Number 2, own land. Number 3, name themselves, okay, for those who renamed ourselves, including my family. Number 4, read and write legally without punishment. Number 5, serve in the military. Number 6, travel freely from state to state. And number 7, worship our faith freely. And it's fitting that I'm going to let Faith read the next part.
Juneteenth is often associated with the Pan-African liberation flag of red, green, and black. However, the Juneteenth flag shares the colors of the American flag because Black Americans who descended from enslaved Africa are American. The star represents Texas, the Lone Star State, and it also represents freedom. Stars helped people escape from slavery on the Underground Railroad. The outline around the star is inspired by the nova, which is an explosion in space that creates a new start, representing a new beginning. You will see the bottom half in red, shaped in an arch. This curve represents a new horizon, a reminder that new beginnings take time and effort. Now, Christina will introduce our first guest.
Our first guest is Mr. Josephus Thompson III. He's a friend of mine as well. He's a poet, teacher, and lecturer who founded the Poetry Project. He uses poetry as a catalyst for literacy, leadership, and service. He's the host of 90.1 FM's The Poetry Cafe. His voice is heard weekly over the airwaves as he showcases talented artists from all over the world on genres of music, hip-hop, poetry, and R&B, to name a few. The show also tours nationally and can now be seen on Amazon Prime. He has performed for Oprah, opened for Kanye West and Floetry. He shares stages with The Last Poets, traveled to Australia, London, Seoul, South Africa, as well as back and forth across the United States, sharing his gift. He teaches in the public and collegiate school systems and hosts and performs at events across the world. I have come to know him as a friend and a village brother. He's received Black History Month awards from St. James Presbyterian Church because of his leadership for spoken word in the community. He is also a father, and we celebrate him for Father's Day. He has recently published a children's book for children ideally aged 3 to 9, and it's called Poetry is Life. And so I welcome Josephus Thompson III to the podium.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me on this Freedom Day. Can everybody say Freedom Day? Freedom Day, indeed, indeed, indeed. So we're going to attempt to inspire you this morning. So this is not a sit back and watch type of atmosphere. We're going to engage. Can everybody say engage? Wonderful, wonderful. It's like Black church today. Never been to Black church today? Today is your day. So I got Gerard on vocals. Say hello, Gerard. Say hello, Gerard. And we got Mike on the keys. Say, hey, Mike. Yeah, see, now we're all friends. Now we're all friends. We do this. So today, actually yesterday, it's about freedom. The opportunity to grow and build and love. And after coming so far, I find that we take so much for granted. We have no idea what it took to get here in this moment, in this space, in this place. So I want you to think about the breath, the air that's flowing through your lungs in this very moment and how often you actually think about it. So I want everybody to take a deep breath and exhale. I just want you to breathe. Just breathe. So life is not about the breaths that we breathe, but about the moments to take our breath away. Sometimes life takes your breath away and there's no beauty, no music, no lights, just panting and gasping the fight, but then there's peace. And now there's moment after, and I guess what I'm saying is appreciate the small things. But sometimes go unnoticed until it's too late. So in this moment, breathe, breathe, breathe. In through your nose, let the air fill your lungs, let love fill your heart, breathing often. Though shallow and undeserving, these are natural responses that effortlessly elevate, unconsciously exit, so breathe like your life depends on it. Cherish the intention, the moment, the ease, breathe in love and life and passion, breathe out fear and anguish, let it dance. Let it linger in your chest. You see, you forever rest in absence. So exhale fear and frustration. Understand the commitment of love and life and peace and joy. And just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.
You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe.
Breathe. Breathe. Breathe. Breathe.
You gotta breathe.
Breathe. Love. Life. Breathe.
You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe.
But once it's gone, there's no coming back, no second chances, no romance. So commit to it now, till death do us part, to every single element that makes it possible. You see, gratitude is greatness. Gear up for what's next. There's so much glory we take for granted. It is astonishing how we innovate from diaphragm to trachea, from beginning to breath to end to dust. We blow through life. We live the storm. Tornado-like tendencies, we swirl in motion. And 12 imagery was all just learned to breathe. To appreciate every single molecule that makes life possible. It said that God made man out of clay. So here I stand, a real life memory in the making, taking flight before it's over, dancing through it all, remembering the breath, the faith that keeps us grounded. Remembering that we are worth the fight. That life is worth the fight. And the breath that we breathe is a gift. So I simply ask you to wrap it daily with care and just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. You gotta breathe. Breathe. Breathe.
You gotta You gotta You gotta
Let's take it up one time for them real quick. I don't think they breathe it yet. You gotta breathe, 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 breathe. You gotta
You gotta breathe.
live.
You gotta breathe.
Life is about the simple things. Spend so much time chasing the money and the fame and the glory and the job. Forget about the life is about the journey, the experience, the opportunity, the energy, the family, the legacy. Sometimes the breath in our lungs we take for granted, but we can't live without breathing. So respect the breath, the energy, the life, the love, the art. Remember to breathe. To breathe. Y'all can clap now. Thank you, thank you. Is everybody breathing? No, everybody's good. Exhale. All right, all right, all right. So I wrote this poem. Want to hear it? Wonderful. Here it go. So freedom is. Oh, the reverb. Y'all hear that? Freedom is. That was nice. That was nice. Is the figment of your imagination. So I stay dreaming. Eyes wide open. Arms outstretched, patting my chest in full stride. You see, I ride possibility, arm wrestle adversity. I remember hearing freedom ring atop Memphis Lorraine Hotel balconies, dance across Autobahn ballrooms. It's a legend told in the dead of night. Drinking from the gourd that lit the way, freedom is a feeling. An idea that infects and manifests. It escapes north, only turns south 13 more times just to prove a point. Or points in the right direction. Maybe put the movement in motion, free a people. You see, it fights tooth and nail, dies only to be born stronger. It crosses bridges bloody on Sunday, only to be bombed in churches or shot at Bible study. It raised closed fists at Olympic struggles and stages, only to be stripped or shamed or chastised, even on bended knee. Freedom is framed, but not forgotten or forgiven. And prison bars create presidents. Freedom escapes, but always returns home, holds open doors, puts the hood on its back, buys back the block it builds, retains, remembers, remains rooted. But just like freedom, sometimes we lose our way. Can't see the forest for the trees. Too much smoke, too many mirrors, but we always find our way, or make a way, or a lane. But all this love and excellence and opportunity and blackness can't be contained. And believe me, they've tried. But freedom don't fail, and neither do we. We are the force, the foundation when all else fails. So I stay dreaming, because freedom always finds a way. Y'all snap. Y'all on rhythm too. Okay, it is Black Church Day. It's like melodies, melodies, melodies before me, harmonies, harmonies, harmonies lost to them. Follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. I promise we'll run together, together, together. We'll fly forever and ever and ever and ever. It's like melodies, melodies, melodies before me, harmonies of daughters lost to them. Follow me, follow me, follow me. I promise we'll run together, together. We'll fly forever. So here we are. Look at us. Cocked, locked and loaded, always, always, always rushed, always, 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 always late. The human race. What if I told you the human race is not a race at all, but simply souls wrapped in bone and just trying to find a way to shine through? We are human. Racing to our death daily, living to our demise. Some days singing salvation, on others damnation. All depends on situations. Seldom do we slow. Saluting sex, worshiping money we wallow, selfish we sin. Soon we'll see the purpose is power. But in the meantime, we run, we run, we run, we run, we run, we run. It's like melodies, melodies, melodies before me, harmonies, harmonies, harmonies. To them, follow me, follow me. I promise we'll run together, together, together. We'll fly forever and ever and ever and ever. It's like
melodies of marching men before me, harmonies of daughters lost to them.
follow me,
And I
promise we'll run together.
we'll fly forever.
So we run till runways run out. Still most have learned to fly. So like hamsters, the wheels are all that we know. Cyclic cycles, create daily routine. Punching clocks to only create procrastination. We play pin the tail on the donkey, then wonder why our butts hurt. We play Russian roulette. We're not living, just waiting to die. One single chamber at a time. We are stuck on stupid. Can't find the remote. We're watching reruns of the Brady Bunch. You know, some days, or most days, we can't relate. Remember, the true life lessons were within our chests. We find our true treasures always, always, always ticking, always, always, always beating, therefore making us human. So that we run towards death. Or rationale, or relationships. We do not walk because we are human, so we race. We race. It's like melodies, melodies, melodies before me, harmonies, harmonies, harmonies.
Daughters lost to them.
Follow me, follow me, follow me. We'll run together. We'll fly forever and ever and ever and ever. It's like melodies, melodies, melodies before me, harmonies, harmonies, harmonies lost to them. Follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. We'll run together. We'll fly forever and ever and ever. It's like melodies, melodies before me, harmonies, harmonies lost to them. Follow me, I promise we'll run together. We'll fly forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Y'all good? Okay, just making sure. You know, sometimes clapping and applause is fake. You know, you got to talk to the people. You know, he's still with you. So, this is a journey, as I mentioned earlier. Not always an easy one. But it's always important to remember where we came from, how far we've come, where we are now, and how much further we have to go. And with that thought in mind, we can only do so much. So it's important that we inspire the next generation. We're not living 200, 300, 500 years. And so we have to make sure that we pass the baton so the generation coming behind us to make sure the mission continues to get carried forward. Yes? Just making sure. All right. So I have a chance to work with a lot of young people. And it's tricky, how do you inspire, young people? How do you get them to really get what you are trying to give them? And so I decided to write them a letter. I know they, they're tech savvy now. They're on IG and Instagram. But you would be surprised, what old school does sometimes. Imagine giving a young person a letter from you written in ink or pencil, Might end up getting framed in a museum or something somewhere. Who knows? So, dear Javante, I see you hiding behind bars and hooks because that crook stole your heart. Daily is a chance to start over. Take it. We create the pages and stages to our lives like pens to paper, like bass drums, the heartbeats reminding us that we are alive. P.S. Pull up your pants. Dear Jamé, put your mirror away. True beauty lies inside. You see, parents collide. Atomic bombs like you, kids that are so talented, we just share them with family. And I know, trust me, I know the seas of this life may get rough, all depending on the wind decides to blow. What I'm saying is blow back. There's a whale of emotion inside is waiting to be released. Dearest Catherine, I looked up the word foster the other day. And the word means development, a support of something inherently known as good. So you've only been passed around, been shuffled around, been moved around so much because everybody needs a little bit of what you got. You see, you pass it out like candy on Halloween. And no, I do not want to build a snowman. But I hope you build your future. The scars. I know it's hard, but hold those books close because now you can write your own story. And to Shabora, hope these words find you well. Star, don't mute your light. Don't wait to fight. You see, size, the characteristic of stamina or legacy. You're stronger than you know. Plant your roots and grow. I mean, blossom. I've seen roses grow from concrete and names that stain destiny. And to Trey, may your days become longer than your nights. May your fights with the abuse of yourself cease. You see, we are our own worst enemy. We don't truly believe the words that we speak. Continue to leak your words and ideas of the papers from the word what you can become. And to Will, do I hear you or no? And nah, brother, I do. I see you too. Keep your head held high. I know it gets heavy, but there's a blessing on your life. There's family, created out of passion and similarities. There are keys to locks you never knew existed. There's twisted fate that leads you here right now. You are the sons and daughters I never had. A proud dad I did not plant but continue to water it anyway. Dear me, I see you hiding behind your words. On days you're afraid to get out of the bed, frustration at your feet, doubt in your daily, fear frozen in your chest. Don't rest, don't quit. Keep spitting into your mouth once dry. Keep trying to be all that you can. All that you know that you can because you can. And dear you, the road is waiting. The world needs more of you.
welcoming us more deeper into this space. And so I want to share a little bit of more facts about Juneteenth as we get deeper into our program before our next performance comes up. And so on June 19th, 1865, when General Gordon Granger read General Order Number 3 in Galveston, Texas, I want to read to you what that said. General Order Number 3 states, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly in their homes and to work for wages." So as you can imagine, in that last sentence read, there are still some rights that needed to be proclaimed, and we are still working for those rights. But this is what was read in Galveston, Texas, to proclaim with troops that slaves are free. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention. And so also, I wanted to go back over those freedoms that were earned. So after Juneteenth had happened and the passage of the 13th Amendment had happened in 1865, those 7 freedoms that blacks were able to proclaim and have were: number 1, working for wages; number 2, owning land; number 3, naming themselves; number 4, reading and writing without punishment, because before it had to be punished with whipping if you were found to read and write. But they had the freedom to do that. Serve in the military, travel, and worship our faith freely. So these are some of the freedoms that were gained as a result of Juneteenth that we celebrate. Again, we are still striving for liberation. And so as a part of our celebration of what has been gained, we're going to introduce the next performance, because we're in partnership at UNCG with North Carolina A&T and with Guilford College. And so we're going to introduce the next act. Faith Howell.
Now we're about to hear a few selections from the North Carolina A&T Jazz Band and the Jonathan Cooper in that band, featuring Dr. Jonathan Cooper, Krishawn Darby, Dro Rester Alexander II, and Paul Foster.
we're going to start with one. So all of our music's about freedom and things like that, of course. So this first one's called Redemption Song. I think most of you guys will recognize this. Redemption Song. Thanks. All right, so the next one is one that, again, you will all know, entitled We Shall Overcome. We Shall Overcome. It's a song that held true then and even holds true to today. So we're the struggle. We can keep going. And every day, we go further and further and get better. So we shall overcome.
Thank you so much. We're so honored to have this partnership. I heard Aggie Pride in the corner. That was from my dad, and I'm glad who's a musician, and so we're glad to be in partnership here. Yes. And so we're going to keep the program moving. We have next a representative from Guilford College, Mr. James Shields. He is a Guilford College graduate and former director of Guilford College Bonner Center for Community Service and Learning. Mr. Shields is also a friend of mine. He introduced me to some history that I didn't know that existed in Greensboro, and so I'm going to welcome him to the stage so he can share some more with you about that. Mr. Shields, come on up.
Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. While I'm on my tedious journey, walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Yes, sir. Had to clear my throat. Always like to sing a little something just to give respect to the ancestors. As Christina said, I'm here to talk a little bit about the Underground Railroad and that history right here in Guilford County. So I'm an alum of Guilford College, and we have 200 acres of woods. And in the middle of those woods sits a majestic 300-year-old tulip poplar tree. And within those woods, the Underground Railroad happened. African Americans, and as was said earlier, yeah, maybe we were enslaved, but we were Americans, right? We were part of this. And they came to those woods seeking freedom. Now, Guilford College was created in 1837 by members of the Religious Society of Friends, better known as the Quakers. Most of us know Quakers were pacifists. Most of us know that Quakers were abolitionists. Their spiritual testimony tells us that the light of God is in every person. And so it stands to reason that if the light of God is in every person, then we don't enslave other people. We don't enslave other children of God. And so there were some of those who thought to put that testimony into action. One of those families was the Coffins family. The Coffins, they were in they had their farm a little north of the tree, really close, in an area that back then was called New Garden. And so when the Quakers came in the mid-1700s and they found this farmland that had been settled before by the Kiowa Indians and the Saura tribes, right? We want to acknowledge that. And when they came to a state that embraced slavery. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the fact that your neighbors own slaves and you're against that? What encourages you to take the risk that it takes? Freedom is not an easy thing, right? And nobody gives it to you. And so if you're a young Levi Coffin who was living in the area, what motivates you as a 7-year-old kid to start doing this work? And so him and his father, they're on the road and they're doing work outside their farm, and a coffle of slaves comes through. It's about early 1800s. At the time that we're pushing the Creek and the Choctaw and the others out of the Deep South. So we need more people to work. So where are they coming from? They're coming from North Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland. And so now you've got these people coming through. And Levi Coffin and his father, and they see these people coming through. Why are y'all chained up like this? What's going on? Well, we've been chained up and we've been taken away from our families. And we're being sent down south. And so that was the beginning of his motivation to live out his spiritual testimony. He later says in one of his writings, he said, as he spoke about slavery, the dictates of humanity came in opposition to the law of the land being slavery, and we ignored the law. Sometimes you got to step up. Again, freedom is not easy. So we have this tree, and we bring people, and we've been bringing people to this tree for a long time. I was introduced to this tree almost 30 years ago, and it's become a fairly famous place. One thing I want to do really quickly, and because you can't really tell this history in 15 minutes, but just know that it happened. Know that if and when you get to come to this tree, know that you're on sacred ground, where people seeking freedom came to this tree, where people who were willing to risk their lives, their property, their reputations, their business, were willing to do all of that in order to help someone be free. And so we went against the law of the land. Freedom sometimes comes at a price, right? As we said, we talk about your life. Freedom can also, it comes at a real price. 1796, William Brown had to purchase his wife comfort. We have the deeds. We have the receipts, as they say, over in the Guilford County Courthouse. William Brown, African-American, living in Guilford County, and he had to buy his wife's freedom. And so freedom comes at a cost. We also know that the Underground Railroad is certainly a symbol of what it means to fight for freedom. The Underground Railroad, especially here in Guilford County, certainly was a conduit to freedom. One of the things I want to quickly do is to also recognize, we talk a lot about the Underground Railroad, if you're familiar at all with this history, and we hear a lot about the Quakers. Enough respect to the Quakers, right? But black folks were involved as well. It would stand to reason, right? But a lot of times we don't think about that. And I've had people talk about this work and barely talk about those enslaved Africans, those free blacks that were involved in gaining their freedom. And so we want to talk about people like Saul. Saul was an enslaved African. He was called Hamilton's Saul because he belonged to a man named General Hamilton. And Saul would help the coffins. He would see maybe there's a coffle of slaves coming through, and he would be able to identify someone who had been kidnapped, right? Again, freedom was subjective back then. Before 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, it wasn't written in black and white, whatever somebody thought, right? And so Saul would help the coffins. Hey, I saw somebody. One of those somebodies happens to be, back in 1817, Benjamin Benson. Benjamin Benson was a free man. I do that in quotations. He was a free man. He was born free from Delaware. But because of the color of his skin, because of his status, before 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments, he could just be scooped up, put on a coffle of slaves, and sent down south. Saul discovered this man, went to the coffins and said, look, this guy is from Delaware. And so the person, John Thompson, who bought Benjamin Benson, understood that the Quakers knew, the Coffins and the others understood that they knew what he was up to. And so his response was to sell him even farther south, down in Georgia. Long story short, they chased him down to Georgia, found a judge who was willing to rule for Benjamin Benson, for the Quakers, which was odd back then. To have the courts go against slave owners, it's a huge deal, especially here in the South. Took about 3 years to get Benjamin Benson's freedom, but he got it. But he had to have people, a white person had to vouch for him in court. Yes, that's him. So again, freedom is not everything that we thought it was. It definitely wasn't everything Benjamin Benson thought it was, right? Then about the same time, we have John Demery. John Demery was an African-American who lived in North Carolina. He was owned in another county. His owner decided to manumit or free him legally, let him go. John Demery decides, Guilford County, Quakers, sounds like a really cool place to be. And so he comes to Guilford County, sets up his household, doing his thing, working. His former slave owner dies, and the heirs are like, oh no, that's our property down there. Understand, during this time, you were seen as property. That's why it was so crucial when people like the Quakers and others, when they looked at us, they looked at our humanity. When you look at a person's humanity, then you're willing to do these things. You're willing to risk all these things. And so John Demery's in his house with his daughter. Another night, chilling, doing his thing, and all of a sudden, the heirs from his former slave owner beat down the door because they're going to take him back. They're going to put him back into slavery. John Demery tells his daughter, go get Mr. Coffin. And they go get the coffins. And the coffins come, there's a little melee, which is unusual because we know Quakers are pacifists. But just enough time for the daughter to untie John Demery, and they make their way to the Guilford Woods. And he's one of the first people that we know that were documented to go along the Underground Railroad and sent up north. John Demery. We also want to lift up Arch and Vina Curry. Arch and Vina Curry lived in Guilford College. Vina Curry was a washerwoman at New Garden Boarding School, later to become Guilford College. When Arch Curry died, he left his freedom papers, his manumission papers, his emancipation papers. Again, back then, you had to have papers to show that you were free. And hope whoever stopped you respected those papers. Didn't have to. You could take those papers, tear them up, right? And so when Arch Curry died, Vina Curry kept those papers. And as people came through to the Guilford Woods and to Guilford County, you would find those people who maybe fit the description, give them those papers. And at this point, the coffins had moved up north, leaving people like Vina Curry, other free blacks who lived in Guilford County to do a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the heavy work. But they would take those papers, give them to a freedom seeker. They would go up north, Indiana, Ohio, give those papers back to Levi Coffin. He'd send them back by courier, and they would keep using them again and again. We don't know how many times they were used, but we know they were. So again, when you're seeking freedom, you got to be smart. You got to have ingenuity, right? A lot of time, especially African Americans. Those are some of the people that I just wanted to lift up. I just want you to be real clear about the fact that while we appreciate what others have done, but when we talk about freedom, those African Americans, those enslaved Africans, those free blacks that lived in our area, they did just as much work, if not more. We don't have close to the amount of time I would love to go into the details of this work, but just know that there's a lot going on. There's a lot for you to read about. My friend, Dr. Israel's back here in the back. She's doing a lot of work right now about the involvement of especially free blacks in Guilford County. A lot of them lived off of what we call Horsepen Creek area. The numbers of black families grew exponentially over 30 years, right, between 1800s, 1830s, going into 1840. But we don't hear a lot about that. We don't talk a lot about that in the schools, so we know it's very important that we kind of expand the narrative. The last thing I'll leave with you is it's a line from a play that we do. It's called Pathway to Freedom. It's a play about the history of the Underground Railroad here in Guilford County and in Alamance County. We haven't been able to do the show in about 3 years. We're going to try to do it again next year. We're raising money to build the theater back up. It's a 40-year-old theater, so as you can imagine, it's an outdoor theater, and so we've got a lot of work we need to do. But so we hope that, one, you'll keep an ear out for when the show comes back, but we also, if you feel compelled to donate to us, please do that as well. It is a community theater. It is a theater that talks a lot about our history. But there's a character called Mama Harris. Mama Harris, I guess, kind of loosely almost, even based on Vina Curry, kind of, right? Because she stays behind. Just like Hamilton and Saul did. They kind of stayed behind and did the work. They could have got out of here, but they didn't. In fact, Saul eventually was sold farther south, but he escaped, came back to New Garden, and he was whisked away up north by his friends, the Quakers. But Mama Harris says, you know, freedom is hard to win and even harder to keep. No matter what deciding rights you think you have, somebody's out there trying to take them away from you. And I think that's important for us as we think about Juneteenth, as we think about what it means to be free. You know, I think about those enslaved Africans who, when they escaped their plantations and their farms, and a lot of them didn't go north, a lot of them went south because that's where their people were. Freedom also means being with your people, right? So what good is freedom if I'm by myself? What good is freedom if I leave my folks behind? Harriet Tubman knew that. She tasted freedom, but it just had a bad taste in her mouth because her people were still there. Levi Coffin tells us about the story of the coffle of slaves that's coming through. And then just a few minutes later, here comes a guy. Brother, he's got his little sack and everything, and he's walking behind the coffle of slaves. Man, what are you doing, man? There's slave catchers up there. No, man, it's my family up there. I want to be with my family. There's a lot of study out there that tells us that in most cases, when people escaped, they wanted to find their people. What was the first thing they did, most enslaved Africans did when they became free, especially at Juneteenth? Where are my people? They started letters and, you know, can you help me find my people? So freedom also means being with your people. And I just hope we keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us that history, as we know that oral history is a rich part of African American history, and also for imparting in us the importance of acknowledging our ancestors and those who have done the work before us so that we can carry the torch and continue the work toward progress that they have done for us. And now I would like to welcome a few members of UNCG alum in African American and African Diaspora Studies to impart a few acknowledgments about the Meacham family.
He's gonna make me go first. Hello, everyone. Just doing a mic check. Can everyone hear me? Okay. It's fall of 2012. I transferred here at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. I'm coming from Winston-Salem State, North Carolina. Mr. Jeffries was a part of the Multicultural Center at the time. He does this rites of passage for young black males. So I'm a part of this program. I go into the classroom. It's about 15 other black males that are there, including myself. And I know one of them because we grew up together back in my hometown. And we see this gentleman walk in, kind of like half hesitant, sort of sidestepping. He has boots on, jeans, nice jacket, nice t-shirt tucked in, and he has a hat on. And he kind of walks very slowly, you know, kind of in a way in which all 15 of us are looking at him at the center. And he doesn't go to the computer, you know, kind of protocol of what a lot of professors do, go to the computer, talk about the syllabus and talk about what to expect from the classroom, but not Logie. Logie said, for the next 15 minutes, I want you gentlemen to talk to one another. There are about 30 to 40,000 black students on this campus, and it's a shame that you don't know who you are. This is one of the 4 lessons that I learned most from Logie that I want to share with you at the time that I have. And the first is never be afraid to expose yourself to the world. He says that in your finger, there's a signature that is different from anyone else. But no one will know about it if you don't show them what that signature is. The second memory that I have of Logie is when he invited me to Fisher Grill, and he was with the House of Dudes, and they were performing members only. It's about 5 or 6 years ago. And being the master teacher that he is, I came in as a student, and I studied him. And after he performed, it was as if he's come off the stage as if he was a rising sun in the solar system. And if you've ever talked to Logie, whether it's privately or publicly, you know that he had an aura, he had a gravitational pull that will pull you into his universe. And the first sign of that would be his smile. Then he would follow up with storytelling. And he would tell stories that would be so personal, but yet so wise, that it will make you feel better about your own life. But most importantly, you can get the seeds of wisdom from it, which leads to my second lesson, which is true liberation, true freedom, which I feel like Logie was a good example of, is best expressed through being brutally honest with yourself and your life choices. The second memory that I have is when me and Logie traveled to Southern Georgia University, and he was going to perform at the theater department, and he needed a second driver, so he called me. Of all people, he called me. And we drive up there, and I noticed that he's on stage opening up for some significant individuals, as well as performing. And what I realized is that the individuals he was opening up for were actually black directors and producers that worked with George Lucas to produce the Star Wars trilogy. So I'm bewildered that I know these famous people. Then he takes me to Atlanta to meet a cousin of his or a family member of his, and he's a lawyer. And so I talked to him a little bit, and this guy is, he's dressed up in a workout suit with gold chains and a Cuban cigar. And he has a certain type of confidence in him. And Logie's just laughing and nodding his head, and as I'm talking to him, come to find out that this individual was a part of the legal team for Denzel Washington. So on the ride back, I said, Logie, you're kind of famous, aren't you? And he started laughing, and we talked about it. And Logie, as well as Dr. Omar, had taught me that it's not really about who you know, but it's who knows you. The last and final memory I want to share with you is when Logie taught me how to grow food at his house. And I always wanted to grow food, and so he showed me. And this particular time, we've grown food. Most folks use regular compost, but this time we use red clay. And if you've ever grown food on red clay, you know that's some of the hardest soil to grow food in. So we composted, we split apart some lines, we planted some seeds. And Logie, being the master teacher that he is, I never really asked him why we were growing food in red clay. But master teachers don't always have to give you the answer. They just put you in the right environment to discover what needs to be discovered. And so what I realized is that life is like red clay. And he was using my life to plant seeds in me to produce good products. But in order for me to plant them seeds properly, he had to spend some time with me. Because when you grow food on red clay, you have to pay a special kind of attention to it. You have to allow it to do its thing, but to make sure that its stage of development is led in a proper way. And Logie was a tour guide for me. So now every time I walk in life, every time I have a conversation, every time I teach, every time I consult, I make sure that my words match the work that comes from my hands and my feet. And I make sure that when I talk to folks, I treat them as if I am dealing with red clay. When I plant seeds, I want to make sure I'm planting it in red clay. Before I pass it to Namardo, I know I'm taking a little bit longer than I should, but I never had an opportunity to properly say goodbye to Logie when I heard him pass. I didn't attend his funeral. I called his brother, and I never had the time to really to show up to his gravesite. My friend passed about 2 months ago, and maybe I never had an opportunity to accept the reality of death. I'm working on my spirituality, so I know the Creator wants me to know that death is just as much as a part of living, and that death is not for those who pass away, it's really for us to impart on the wisdom that that person left behind. So to all of you, if I could share just maybe 5 more minutes with Logie, I would just want to tell him I love him, and I thank him for showing me that it's okay to expose yourself to the world. It's okay to be blatantly honest with yourself and your life choices, because it builds trust. It allows you to be the sun to your own planet, to pull people in so they can know you and you can know them. And when you're in that moment with them to share a conversation, you can plant seeds into them and treat them as if they are red clay. The last thought I have in my mind is, how will I remember Logie? How will we remember Logie? He wrote a beautiful manuscript, and we are the editors to that manuscript. So as we think about, as we analyze, as we share, and as we teach about Logie Meacham, the Logie experience that we all have had, which is the reason why we're all here, whether directly or indirectly, what will we do to carry on that legacy, to teach the things that need to be taught, and to impart upon the wisdom that he's imparted unto us. I love y'all to life. I'm going to pass this over to Armando. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you all for having me. Logie Meacham was my friend, my colleague, my mentor, and most importantly, in his own words, an American national treasure. I met Logie on this campus 10 years ago. We were taking a class on slave narratives. Appropriately, the conversation always centered around freedom and the idea of liberation. Anybody who knows Logie knows that he was a very free spirit who believed in, if nothing else, his own liberation. Well, one thing he said to me that's always stuck with me was a paraphrase of Stokely Carmichael. He's giving me a pep talk. We're in class, it's just me, him, and the professor. I learned about solidarity that semester. Logie says to me, freedom cannot be given to you. It can only be taken away, or you be fooled into giving it away. And this is very true about this American moment that we lived in. If you ever spent any time with Logie, it was an on-running opine about American civic politics and the divisiveness that we're all wrapped up in. Logie was a child of Guilford County and a child of history. And one thing he could do with the slave narratives that not very many people could do was localize the experience. And what he did in his efforts to do that was complicate what community looks like. Not just for me, not just for the class, but even for these texts. And one thing he always told me is as much of Americans as we are, and as much as the notion of Americanness is built on these ideas of competition and rugged individualism, all of those are fantasies. Nobody gets anywhere by themselves, ever. The idea of nation and nationalism inherently presuppose a type of collectivism, or types of collectivisms. And what Logie was very interested in was uplifting the communities that he saw creating themselves, not just here in Guilford County, but across the world. And if you know anything about Logie, he has been around the world creating communities. And in fact, that is how, again, I met him. We weren't just classmates, he brought me into his family. He introduced me to Mama T, Larry, Esau, Tommy. We broke bread. And he taught me that we're all interconnected, not just through our own localisms and particularisms, but through our humanity. And humanity shows up in a lot of different ways. And for it not to is an artificial hampering of freedom and liberation. We all need one another. We all know each other. We all come in contact with one another. To think of ourselves as atomized or individualized is a fantasy. In this American moment, we must remember that although this moment, this Juneteenth celebration, commemorates African Americans recognizing a freedom that was God-given, it's also a recognition of an ongoing effort to suppress that freedom, to fool us into believing that there are types of citizens, classes, groups, levels of humanity. That's false. If we can do anything to commemorate the life and legacy of Lorenzo Logie Meacham, it is to remember that we are human, we are connected, we all have a purpose, and we're all here to help us grow.
I guess it's my turn. Can you hear me? I'm just going to stand right here. I know you can't. I used to teach you before. I'm Frank Woods. I have a little history with this program. Bruh Frank, let's go get some crispy fish. That is going to echo in my mind forever. That meant Logie wanted to take me to a little Thai restaurant down there on Tate Street, and he knew I liked the crispy fish. But it was more than crispy fish. He wanted to talk, and I wanted to listen. And we shared many conversations. I have so many good stories about Logie. Logie is definitely one of my best friends. He was a light. He was our light. But it shone too briefly. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't think of a better day than to celebrate Logie's memory. He was all about preserving ancestral memories, and now we're preserving his. One of the best things that we ever did in the AADS program was to hire Logie Meacham. You know, I share a lot in common with Logie. We're the same age. We grew up here in Greensboro. We had memories of Jim Crow experiences. And we also had a deep love for the blues. Now, Armando said he's going around the world, but he went around the world preaching and singing the blues. He was one of the few people, I love the blues too. He was one of the few people that I could sit down and have a real conversation with the blues. Does anybody in here know Blind Lemon Jefferson? All right. How about the Reverend Gary Davis? All right, all right. What about Hound Dog Taylor? All right, all right. Well, these are the kind of conversations we had. And we both agreed that Jimi Hendrix was probably one of the best blues players ever. I spent a lot of time in that little office that Logie had, and one of the gifts he gave me was he allowed me to fulfill one of my greatest dreams. I admired Logie as being a great musician, and I had zero talent as a musician, but I had this old beat up silver tone guitar, and some of y'all might remember the Sears catalog. Well, I got a guitar many, many years ago, and I never could play it, zero talent. And I told Logie, man, just let me play one song, teach me one song on that guitar, I'll be happy. And we worked on it, four chords, open D tuning, I got it, Here Comes the Sun, as performed by Richie Havens. Some of y'all might know him. After I got that song, I was ready to go on tour. I was going to be Logie's opening act. So many memories, but, and you know, Logie was real talented, but I think his greatest talent was teaching me how to play. And you know what that made Logie? That made him a miracle worker. I got it. So on this special day, please honor Logie's memory by listening to a blues song. I think that's the best way. I can just see him smiling down going, yeah, they got it. They got it. All right, thank you.
We'd like to take a moment to present the Meacham family with this gift for Logie. It's in honor of Lorenzo Logie Meacham and the Meacham family in appreciation of their commitment to telling and teaching the African American story. On this Juneteenth, 2022, we present this to you. Also, this fall, we will be officially unveiling the Frank Woods Conference Room and Library, as well as the Logie Meacham Lecture Office. We'll have a formal event in the fall, so please be on the lookout for that. During this ceremony, these two plaques will be blown up and put on display to show our appreciation, love, and honor of these two great educators.
I'd just like to say, not too bad for two Greensboro boys.
Wanted to see if anybody representative from the family wanted to say a few words. You can, if it's time, if you feel it.
How y'all doing? I just wanted to get up here and be short, be quick, just say one thing, and I wanted to say thank you for being here, and I wanted to give a shout out and a call for more Black appreciation that isn't based on capitalism. and for more unity that, for whatever reason, unity for whatever reason. But I would just like to say thank you and I love you to everybody in this room. And I hope y'all have a blessed day. And I just really had to come up here and say that real quick.
Thank you so much. I feel the spirit in here thick that I love too. At this time, we're going to have a few more words from Josephus Thompson III, and then we'll be wrapping up our program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm not supposed to follow all that. Put Logie's and then put me on stage. That's it's not cool, Christina. But we're gonna do it anyway. Y'all still good? Okay, wonderful. Thank you to everybody who came today, first of all, because it's important to see your faces and energy. Aggie Pride to the band, y'all fancy, you know what I'm saying? Y'all just up here showing out. I was over there in my seat playing all the instruments. Because I can't play any of them, but, you know, in my spirit, I felt like I was part of the band because I was sitting close on the front row. To the Meacham family, what's up? How y'all feeling? Good. Y'all we keep being in the same place, same time. I know I'm in the right place. Yeah. I'm surprised y'all ain't want to say no more words. No? You sure? You didn't say nothing today? We heard it. You heard it from the horse's mouth. He still ain't free. All right, Gerard, you ready to finish this thing out? All right, let's give it for Gerard and Mike one more time. Holding y'all down. Logie was definitely a teacher and an inspiration to everyone in the community, especially we artists. If Dominic was red clay, I must have been cement, because he was trying to get me to go back to school and get a PhD forever. And I was like, man, I'm not going back to school. I ain't going to be able to do it. I'm not doing it. But yeah, he felt like as artists we had so much to share, and that the educational community could learn so much from us if we would just go back and get a few more extra pieces of paper. And I was like, I'll pass. But this next piece, man, it speaks to everything that has been said today. You can't do this thing alone, right? And although we have fought for freedom for so long, there were so many people that made it necessary that we came together in order to make it work, right? And everybody played their role. And getting free was not always the end all be all. Sometimes you had to go back, you know. Sometimes you had to assist and help and hide and cook. But together, we made it happen, and we're still making it happen, and still fighting for freedom. Yeah, so this piece is called Rainbows. Let rainbows and cloudy days wash away the pain. You see colors equate to emotion. Drip drops of fantasy roam free. If you listen closely, you hear the melody whispering softly. The fusion of solution, blocking out question, doubt, and fear. Lingering lights last beyond shadows, and colors fill corners where hope was lost. Tossed in the wind, prisms, like peace and understanding. Colors eclipse war, wound worry, blossom beauty, vibrant reds, run rampant, replacing revenge, and blues bleed belief. And oranges, open opportunity, and gold just waits in the horizon, waiting to be reached. So we dream in color. Hues to haunt our nightmares, visions that evade our insecurities. We blend ourselves with the sun, shining with salvation, saving us all. And these, I promise you, are rainbows. So together, we stretch.
Stretching, tell you why.
There's a
Rainbow after the rain goes, stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow after the rain goes.
innocence and vents, ambition without boundaries. Graceful greens crest captivity, setting free contentment. Purples pursue passion, eluding pain. For rainbows know no pitfalls. Only arcs that touch heaven and return to earth with benevolent blessings, bearing no arms, just hopes and dreams and aspirations created by colors, bound together by fate and stretched across the sky. Simple satisfaction, seduced by the rays of enlightenment, beckoning to us all. And these, I promise you, are rainbows. So together, we stretch, we stretch, we stretch, 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 stretch.
Stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow after the rain goes. Stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow after the rain goes.
Whether you are black or white, green or purple, red or orange, tall or short, fat or skinny, gay or straight, Muslim or Christian, together we are unnecessary. We are all different, created like snowflakes that one alike, but together we all create rainbows. Our energy is necessary. Who we are is important. We stand out, we stand up, we push further. Together, we fight, we love, we live. And we stretch, stretch, stretch.
Stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow after the rain goes. Stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow.
All right, choir, y'all ready?
After the
So you should know the chorus by now, right? You didn't think you was gonna sit there and watch me get up here and perform. Yeah, surprise, haha, I'm back. All right, so Gerard's gonna give you the chorus. You're gonna repeat after him. Got it? All right, and
stretching, cascading across the sky.
good job. One more time.
Stretching, cascading across the sky.
See if we put it all together.
Stretching, cascading across the sky. There's a rainbow after the rain goes. Stretching, cascading across the sky. There's a rainbow.
Now by yourself. All right, and go. There's a what? Get my Kurt Franklin on right now. So it's stretching, cascading across the. I wish, tell you, there's a. Good job.
Cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why.
There's a
Rainbow after the rain goes. Stretching, cascading across the sky. I wish I could tell you why. There's a rainbow after the rain goes.
Make some noise for yourself, choir. Black church in the building. Stretching and cascading all together. Good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. All right. So, this life is a journey, right? That destination keeps going on and on and on and on and on. That's what Erykah Badu said, something like that. Anyway, this is about the line of your life, right? Your legacy, your journey, your destiny. Y'all got one, right? Yeah. You should be living your life to the fullest every single day. I think Jill Scott said living life like it's golden. Tonight we're here for it, you know. We're celebrating freedom and Juneteenth. So, it's like I've been moving to my passion for all the world to see.
My light, my time, I shine out like my community. My heart, my life, my time,
On every single time I pick up a pen. Just a pen. I put my life on the line. Pieces of my soul come together like railroad tracks, taking me further and further and further. I've never ever been out this far, so I'm praying to God the signal don't drop. I'm asking, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Or is my signal fading, waiting in the waters while I constantly throw lines past? Sort of part of my life, just trying to make a deeper connection. I'm asking, feet, don't fail me as I walk it. I'm asking hard, don't fail me now. Lay my emotions, my pains, my struggles, my stripes, my life on the Mason-Dixon zone between north and south, east and west, black and white, right and wrong. We've all sung some freedom songs. From sun up to sundown, the sound turns silent, and then violent, and then somehow to peace. We convert it back to sound that vibrates time. Understand this line, your line, my line. Spares no one, loves no one, honors, obeys, respects no one. Just stretches as far as your eyes can see. Connecting the dots to your destiny. It's mesmerizing ecstasy. Is sometimes, most times it's blurry. But I promise you, it's my love, my life, my peace, my gifts. The line. Everybody snap. It's like I've been moving to my
destiny.
Passion
blazing, laid it out
for all the world to see.
My life, my time, I'll shine out like my community. My heart, my life, my time on the line for you and me. I've been moving linearly to my destiny. Passion blazing, laid it out for all the world to see. My time, my shine like my community. My life, my time, my life on the line for you and me.
So in this life, there'll be so many hills and valleys, so many peaks and mountains, so many rivers and streams. The line of your life remains true. The line of your life will move through all that's destined for you. Understand this line, my line, your line. Spares no one, loves no one, honors, obeys, respects no one. Just stretches as far as your eyes can see. Like from the stars to your galaxy. It's mesmerizing ecstasy. Is sometimes, most times, oftentimes blurry. But I promise you, it's my love, my life, my peace, my gifts, my arts, my joy, my tears, my fears, my passion, my purpose, my service. My service. And for you, here and now, lay all that I am on the line, just trying to change the world. The line. It's like I've been moving to my
destiny. Passion blazing, laid it out
for all the world to see.
My life, my time, I'll shine out like my community. My heart, my life, my time
On the line for you and me. I've been moving to my
destiny. Passion blazing, laid it out for all the world to see. My life, my time, I'll shine out like my community. My heart, my life, my time on the line for you and me.
Make some noise for yourself. All right, I wish I could sing, but I can't. That's why I got Gerard. So I wrote this other poem I'm gonna read for y'all. And I think as artists, as people, sometimes we get stuck in our own box. And we don't realize the lives of people that we're affecting and how much a part of the community we are. Just hearing people talk about Logie today just reminded me of, how one man can change so many people's lives. Consider the fact that you have that same power, right? Brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, children, like we each have an opportunity to create legacy, to be a shining example of what hope and freedom could be. And I think we discount that fact far too often. So who I am is bigger than a poem. It's bigger than this microphone on the stage. bigger than this moment. I am the movement between the words. I'm the sound of silence between the syllables. My reality does not rhyme, but I am the reason and the revolution, deliberate sacrifice, patience and fortitude, future and destiny understood that I was lock and key. Mimicked ancestry in my flaws. My flaws be my freedom. So my tribe, we build airplanes in mid-flight, create parachutes on the fall after the wings fall off. The question is, when did we start focusing more on who we aren't versus who we are? You are enough. When doubt sets in, remember we learn to walk by falling, to win by losing, succeed by failing. We get stronger by lifting the obstacles and weights placed before us. We grow when bones expand and muscles stretch. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. We learn to talk by mumbling, fumbling through life. We recover and touch down, end zone dance party, black hole infinity, and this is just the beginning because who I am, who we are, is so much bigger than a poem. So I want you all to think of a person. Or hell, think of the people you want to that have changed or affected your life, whether you know them or not, whether living or dead, whether you saw them in a movie, whether your imaginary best friend, whether your mother or aunt or uncle. Understand that we have the power to change the world, that we are only where we are now because of the sacrifices, right? Because of the dedication, because of the time and effort and energy, because of the family, right? Both blood or other, that pushes to be where we are today. We can all have the power to change the world. So, I hope, I wish, I pray that you remember that together we can change.
I hope that you can make it on your own. I hope that it's the realest thing that you ever know. I hope that you get everything you want and that you chose. Hope that it's the realest thing that you ever know. Hope you get the pretty girls, pretty and everything. $1 million crib, having $1 million dreams. When you get it all, just remember one thing. Remember one thing.
One man could change
the
the
world.
world. One man could change the world.
One man could change the world. One man could change the world.
They tried to bury us. They know that we were seeds. Whole 6 feet deep, surprised to see my black fists sparkle. So they tried to drown us. They know that we were fish. Ignorance is bliss, tried dropping us to the mountaintop to know that we could fly. They are alive when faced with the truth. I mean, think about it. As the world turns to the sun, ever really stop shining. The success, ever truly no defeat. We are the epitome of opportunity. Optimism incarnate, a sonnet, Moses' staff, part of the Red Sea, a line in the sand, the power of prayer. They set me ablaze. Forgot I was a phoenix. They're trying to kill us, kill we daily, but we just keep creating new ways to live. Breasts extend towards the heavens, see me blossom, seasons scatter to the wind. We grow like weeds, like rose from concrete, we secretly light, but grow in darkness, through stress and strain and time and pressure and pressure and pressure. There's so much pressure and heat. We be diamonds. Reminds me of a shooting star. The reality is actually falling from the sky. Black man shot down the right T, but we make a wish anyway. 'Cause I know and we know that together we can change the world. I hope,
That you can make it
I
on your
pray,
own.
I know
Something that you never
that we
did. I hope that you
can
get
live,
everything you want and that you
grow,
chose.
not to, because he knew better than. He'd been raised better, just was not strong enough, was not bold enough, was not smart enough, was too stupid to stand up, too weak to want more, so he failed, fleeing with no concern. He thought it was cool to be a fool, so foolish he remained. His name, it was forgotten, he was too dumb to remember. And soon, he was just like everybody else. Faded to back, faded to black, became a shadow, no longer offered light, and I warned him. But he thought he was so fresh, thought he knew it all, so I watched him fall, I watched him crumble, I watched him stumble, I watched his life flash before his eyes, but he closed them tight, and he thought, by the time he opened them, I told him that life and time waits for no one, and soon you will be a man. I pray to God you stand for something, lift your head, find your feet, quit being a lame, man up, man out, stand up, stand out. See, I believe in you. But first you've got to believe in yourself. I love you, but first you've got to love yourself. And it's hard to respect you because you don't respect yourself. And we are personally tired of telling you that the power that you hold, the legacy that stood behind you for years and years, expects, needs, demands more of you, because together, here and now, we can change the world, the world, the world, the world, the world.
I hope that you can make it on your
Harriet,
own. If you love something that
Malcolm,
you'll never be alone. I hope
Martin,
that you get everything you want and that you chose. Hope that it's the realest thing that you ever know. If you get the pretty girls, pretty and everything, $1,000,000 crib, having $1,000,000 dreams. When you get it all, just remember one thing.
Remember one man can change the world, the world, the world, the world. One man can change the world. One man can change. So right now, George, release that name to the air. Whether it's your mom or your dad, you say that name that affected your life, loved one. This is what we do to the ancestors, whether they're here or gone. Just release that name to the energy, into the room. That person has changed your life, that's inspired you, reminded you that together we can change the world, the world, the world. Take it up one time for them. I hope
that you can make it
that
on
you
your own. If you
can
look
grow,
for something that you'll never be
build,
alone. I hope that you
love,
get everything you want and
and
that you
give,
chose.
and push,
Hope that
and
it's the
know
realest
that
thing
we
that you ever know. Hope you get the pretty girls, pretty and everything, $1,000,000 crib, having $1,000,000 dreams. When you get it all, just remember one thing.
remember one man could change the world, the world, the world, the world, the world, the world. One man could change the world, the world, one man could change the world, the world, I pray that you know that we can grow, love, and give. It's free, and love is push, and honor. Be free, because we can change the world, the world, the world, the world, this world. Love, and be, and grow, and see that we can change the world.
Thank you. Yes, we can change the world. So I'm so glad that we are still here, still celebrating. And so as we're doing that, we are going to allow you to exit together, to fellowship more with one another, to continue to share your spirit. And so along those lines, we want to continue the conversation. And so on your way out, there is a place, a table where you can fill out a form to get a free book. We're going to raffle 20 of the books on Juneteenth. by Annette Gordon-Reed, and I'm going to lead a facilitated conversation about that on July 18th, and so you'll be able to register for a link for that book discussion on the racial equity website for UNCG. And one of the reasons that that's so important is because I'm honoring my ancestor, my mother, Cassandra Hodges Young, who graduated from here, and she was a reading teacher. And so it's very important that she taught me the importance of reading, the importance of continuing the conversation, and so that's a part of why this is important. And so I also want to bring Dr. Chanel James to the stage. I want to honor this sister for all of her planning efforts. This is a gift for you for how you've been so diligent to have this vision for us to celebrate Juneteenth at UNCG and for all of your hard work. Oh, excuse me.
It's okay, I'm dropping some. I'll get to use this next year, right?
Yes, whenever, all year if you want to.
Right,
But I want to
right.
thank you for your vision, and I thank you for allowing us the opportunity to work together. So thank you, Chanel. Love you.
I wish I could be Russell Simmons and say thank you and good night, but I need to say thank you to everybody. I will first say thank you to Anthony Chow, who really, he was the first Asian American chair of the Faculty Senate, and he was actually the one to say, Chanel, we are not leaving 2021 without having a Juneteenth Day. And that, I'll be honest with you, that's how it started here. And then this year, I went to all the people who attended last year and said, we are not going to leave 2022 without celebrating Juneteenth. And in fact, our faculty senate passed a resolution that we would do this every year. And it came from the students, really, yeah. So I just want to do a few thank yous, and then I'm going to ask you to listen to the music, grab some cupcakes, because you don't want me taking cupcakes home, and to have a good day. I want to thank the UNCG Office of the Chancellor for their support for this event. Faculty Senate, particularly our chair, Sarah, is she here? She's in the back there, for supporting us, and she's already said, we need to really formalize this committee, so I'm glad for that. Gerald Spate, the director of the Office of Intercultural Engagement at North Carolina A&T State University, and Gemma Herrera, and please forgive me if I'm saying names wrong, Associate Director of Intercultural Engagement Center and Latinx Community Coordinator at Guilford College. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that the universities were able to come together and share in this event. Now, let me say this first. One day, I'm gonna text Josephus, and he's gonna be so like super famous that I'm probably gonna have to talk to a secretary. But until then, that I don't even have to say, like, I'm not even sure if he knows who I am each year. I just say, I need you to come, and he comes. Thank you for telling the story. Thank you to the Meachams for joining us today. It was so wonderful. I think the band from A&T is gone. Are they go? They still here? Thank you. My soul was enriched with your music. The Negro National Anthem. Thank you so much for that. But I want to thank my committee. This young lady, she's a church member of mine. So you know church members, that you lean on them in all situations, and they have to say, yeah, because they had to go to church with you. So I want to thank you, Christina, for your role in shepherding this program too. Thank you so much. Some others that I want to thank, Andrea Hunter, from who's a Chancellor's Fellow, who's a part of the committee. Kimberly Mozongo, she here. She kept us on budget with the committee. Thank you. Where's Gus? Is he right there? He works magic. You say, I want to do this, and he said, this is the way to do that. Thank you. Gerald Holmes, where is he? Thank you, bringing us together. Brian Robinson, he's not here, but he helped with the event. I don't know if you participated in the Friday event, but him and, I know I've got the other name, Nikia. I'm looking right at you. Did a wonderful job on our online virtual sober conversation about Juneteenth. Noelle Morissette, was she here? Helped us with a lot of the things that we were able to get in touch with the Meacham family and all of those other things that we needed to do. Let's see, Melissa Casey, who helped us with our meetings, the communications and public relations office, who even got us in BET News listed there. Faith Howell, thank you so much for your contributions. Jade Marie Joyce, the business officer for the provost office. Let's see, Ren, she's still here, came this morning, has said, what do I need to do? How do we get you organized? Help us there. Janine, thank you for volunteering. She just said, I want to volunteer. Thank you. We need students to come and help volunteer with us. Thank you all for coming. We surely appreciate it. If I missed anybody, please count it to my head and not to my heart, or at least count it to my computer where I lost information. Oh, I know. Shelley, I did forget. See, I knew I forgot one. I knew I forgot. Thank you so much for helping with our community. Good ideas. I'll be calling y'all in another month to get started for next year. Thank you. Thank you so much.